Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, think about how these liberals are telling, people, oh, it's so horrible that women have to go outside with a male chaperone. They can't leave their house unless they have a male guardian. But think about how liberals keep trying to make us women less safe. They advocate defunding police and having social workers instead. So if there's criminals, gangbangers hang out on the street, they then know that a cop's not going to drive by as much because there's less officers who are assigned to that specific area. So criminals will take advantage of that, right? So they don't want there to be that many officers to help women. Then they say things like, oh, we're going to strip people of their two-way, which means women won't have the right to have a firearm on them to protect themselves, and liberals make it very hard in their areas to have concealed carry permits so women can carry a weapon to defend themselves from a criminal. And now they're mocking Muslims for having men be around to protect women from danger. So those are three things. So they want to take away your right to even have a gun, little by little, incremental steps, banning different types of firearms styles so that little by little, piece by piece, they make it harder. They make it harder for you to have a permit to even carry it. They want to take away your police officer's presence. And now they're encouraging young Muslim girls to walk around without any type of protection at all. So those are three things and how liberals are trying to make conservative young girls less safe. What's interesting is a lot of these women on the liberal side, the atheist side, they love to party, get drunk, get hammered, and they walk to their cars. They're staring at their phones. They're not really looking around, and a lot of them get assaulted, right? Whereas a young Muslima, a more virtuous girl who's smarter, she stays away from intoxicants, hopefully, inshallah, because it's not permitted in our religion. So she's more sober, so she's not going to be intoxicated and loopy, and she's going to be more aware walking around even though she lowers her gaze. She's going to be dressed more modest so she's not as recognizable, so her beauty doesn't attract a predator. And she's also going to have a male guardian, so she has so many steps. And if her male guardian has, his own ability and tool to protect himself, then she would be much safer. So think of all those different ways that they're trying to get inside the minds of women to make them less safe in the street. But then they say they're for women's rights. I don't know how anybody can really fall for that. Further, a lot of liberal women, Democrats, progressives, really hate the patriarchal system which protects women. They seem to think men are not needed, so fathers are not needed in the home. She can do it without, he can be replaced with a cell phone, child support, welfare check, and, she can bow down to her boss, right? And if they don't even acknowledge God, they don't even think they need God. So they're really trying to push this distorted view onto young girls. It's amazing how they think they're like the champions of female rights. Just because, you can get hammered anytime, you can walk alone, and you can sleep with any guy you want, and you can dismember babies unlimited in the clinics. And now they're pushing to get taxpayer support for that. So they won't even have to pay for it. Instead, the government will pay for them to assassinate the beautiful, innocent soul in their womb. It's very strange that they're really so smug and arrogant and saucy with how they feel they're the ones to be the champion for women. They encourage women to rebel against their men, to not be told or controlled in any way, to have zero restrictions, to abort unlimitedly, to not stay away from intoxicants, to not really seek elder men to kind of help and guide them. And Now they're like mocking and like shaming women, like, oh, they'll have to have a male guardian when they go outside. Growing up, I had to walk home alone all the time, and I constantly was beaten up by boys, and I had to learn how to fight boys. And I had a dog. When I had my dad's security dog, it was a Rottweiler. He was a good companion because he helped protect me, right, by the permission of Allah. I've always had a big, love for security dogs, guard dogs, that are actually trained, not actually trained dogs with obedience, not the fake kind where someone just leaves it in their backyard and it's a wild dog and it'll bite anybody and has no obedience training. I'm talking about a real dog that's trained. That was like a big help for me. So I'm very sensitive when these liberals try to lie to women all the time about safety. When I would have to ride the bus home and walk home from work with tips in my pocket, and there's gangbangers, there's drunk people in the hoods, you wish you would have had a guardian. I wish I would have had that. I wish I would have had a dad who cared, a brother. I didn't have any brothers. All my brothers are younger than me, to protect me. It's a really wonderful feeling if you have healthy, masculine brothers to protect and guard you and keep you safe. I know it can make some women naive. You have to have a balance, right? You have to know how to stand on your own 2 feet. But it's strange how they're really working hard to make these young Muslim girls think they don't need any male guardians whatsoever. You're more safe if you're going outside with someone to protect you. And here in California, some people will say, oh, the city is the city, it's always been that way. They make all these excuses for the crime. And even Google, which is heavily biased towards the liberal progressive agenda, in their search engine results, how you can pay to get boosted up in the results, how they shadow ban certain people in the results for their search engine. By the way, use DuckDuckGo or someone else. But Google will, more and more now hide crime statistics, and then they'll put up CNN or some other crappy fake news website saying, crime is up, but here's why you shouldn't worry. Like, they really try to romanticize and make things seem like it's not that dangerous. This is something I've really noticed with leftists, like Vosh, Kyle Kulinski. I followed them for a long time. I still follow them to see what they're saying, but they always romanticize, like, crime is not that bad. Conservatives are just paranoid, but they are really soft on criminals, and they really want to have police less around. They really want to reduce our ability to have guns, and they mock conservative Muslim women for having male protectors, and it's really quite sad. So I hope we all can correct the record and not let these types of brainwashed individuals who live on social media, they even admit, Kyle Kulinski and Vosh admit, they don't leave their apartments a lot, right? They're streamers on YouTube, so they're able to afford to live in better areas. And Vosh, that fake communist, he was born in Beverly Hills. He's never even lived in a hood, but he openly advocates for defunding cops, which makes hoods less safe. I know that there's some people complain how cops stereotype people, but the real point of the matter is you do need police officers. We need to make it so they don't do their weird beatings and the problems they have with corruption and stuff. But we need to make criminals afraid. We cannot be soft on criminals. We need to punish them. We need to make it harder for them to commit crimes. And the more police officers are around that are not corrupt, the more safe we'll be walking with our children. And further, liberals want to have it to where there's decriminalization of drugs. And if you notice, Street People of Los Angeles, their Instagram page and others, they show constant drug addicts just open, passed out in the street. And liberals just walk past it. But if you're walking with your kids and someone's high on meth and he's peeing in the street, he's masturbating, he's pooping, it shocks your kid, they can attack you and no one's going to help you, they're just going to film it. And then while you're being attacked, you have to hope that someone calls a police officer and there won't be as many cops to come and save you. So they want a bunch of drugged out zombies wandering around in the street, while defunding cops, stripping your ability to conceal and carry, and then encouraging women to not have a male guardian. And we're not worried about their negative influence. We think they're the ones who are championing female rights because they want to encourage women to do OnlyFans and have unlimited abortions and sleep everywhere and spread STDs, and to ignore their kids and instead go for a career. I don't really see that as empowering. Their vision of what it means to be a powerful woman just sounds like plastic surgery, makeup, alcohol, student debt, and being at work all day. I mean, that's a pretty weird vision of female rights. And Islam gives women different rights. Being really, really free. I was so free that no one asked me even where I was, if I ate anything as a kid. At like 8 years old, I was walking to school by myself, coming home by myself. I lived on my own since 17 years old. Like, I was so free to the point where it became neglect. So when they talk about letting women be free and no man is checking on you, I know how that is. And it's not so beautiful. And it really gives you a distorted sense of the responsibility of men. It changes the way you look at men. And it makes you change into a, different type of individual. It makes you a survivor. But at the same time, it's not easy. And when you are naive, you learn the hard way how dangerous it is out there for women. So these liberals is not telling women that. They're not really showing them like, hey, there's dangers out there. Instead, it's like, oh, you can just have your nice iPhone, dress however you want, get high, get drunk, take an Uber, just trust that Uber driver, don't have any weapons on you, and just hope for the best. Like, their distorted utopia is something that makes women less safe. So, be careful about taking advice from American liberals. If you immigrate to America, you need to watch out. You need to watch out. Because the more and more I'm listening to them over the years, the less and less respect they have for traditional values that keep women safe. And if you think that you don't need safety from men, like men can't guard you and help you, I think you're delusional. I saw that video, you can probably still find it, where a woman was waiting for the train, like the subway train or something like that in New York, and a guy just went up to her, grabbed her, and raped her right there. And nobody helped. They just filmed it. And the woman was not strong enough to get the perpetrator off. And people were just yelling, get off of her, get off of her. But that video, how quickly he just grabbed her and took advantage of her. She had no weapon, nobody helped, there was no police officer. That is why you need a male guardian. And that is why you need police officers to always be around to protect women. Again, be careful about what these Democrats, these progressives, these liberals want when it comes to crime. They worship criminals. They worship criminals. They built a statue to a guy who put a gun to a woman's belly and overdosed on drugs. It's sad what happened to him, but they built a statue to a guy who put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach and then hid that information from the public until much later. Think about that. They don't even want the death penalty for people who harm children, for men who assaulted children. They try to get rid of solitary confinement. They are soft on criminals. So be careful. Be careful when you trust them. It's better to be aware and safe than to feel cool and posh and copy the liberals. Be safe.